I'm Kattina, England, and this is a good show. Thank you for joining me for this episode of A Good Show. First and foremost, I want to invite you to March for Jesus 2025. 7th of June 2025, we are marching from 7 Mile Public Beach up to Edward Avenue right here in Georgetown. So please join us for March for Jesus. And from 1st of May 2025, visit our website www.christian.ky to register your group or church to perform in this year's concert, Jesus Christ, Our Only Hope. So come on, Cayman Islands, join us for the March for Jesus on 7th of June 2025. One of the reasons why we need to keep a strong Christian culture in this island is so that we can maintain strong family values, core principles actually. You know, I'm all excited that the UK Supreme Court just handed down a very monumental judgment, but I'm so disappointed that it had to. Because the fact that we have become such a disillusioned, delusional, depraved society that it takes the UK Supreme Court to give us a definition of a woman? Me? 2 X chromosomes. So nice, God did it twice. 2 X chromosomes. I am a woman, all right? And it takes for the UK Supreme Court to tell society that woman is based on your biological sex. Come on. Listen, never before has mental health care been so needed, but we who are sane need to stop encouraging people's mental deficiencies and breakdowns. When people are in need of mental health care, it is our responsibility to be sure that they get it. We don't encourage it. We try to help them get over it. Each one of us was created uniquely by God as a male or as a female to function perfectly in that role. Are we perfect human beings? No. But we can function perfectly in our roles. We are all challenged. We are all challenged. Some men have easier jobs than other men. That doesn't make them better fathers. It might make them richer, but it doesn't make them better. And some women are better at fixing a bed. That doesn't make them a better mother. It makes them better at fixing beds. But it doesn't necessarily make them a better mother, because we function perfectly in our roles when we accept who we were created as and who we were created to be. Listen, come on. There's only male and female. It doesn't go any further than that. And this encouragement that people can transition to another gender is only maintaining an illusion, and that's not healthy. And it's not good for us as a society to be saying to people, yeah, it's okay, you can go ahead and mutilate yourself and you'll be that, or no, we need to help them and we need to encourage them on to be the great persons that they were created to be. Come on, Cayman. Anyway, listen, I got some great news. Our very own Jonathan Piercy has released his first book. I got a chance to read some of it when I was in the UK in March, and I could just hardly wait. It actually released after I left. I read the master copy, and it's The Power of Light, the Deception of Darkness. And I'll just read an excerpt from the introduction for the book. It says, drawing from divine inspiration, this powerful work reveals that no matter where you are in life, God is ready to guide you towards purpose, renewal, and joy. Addressing today's generation, a world teetering on the edge of chaos, it boldly confronts the darkness while illuminating the unshakable hope found in God's Word. Be sure that you get your own copy of The Power of Light, the Deception of Darkness by our very own Jonathan Piercy. And on our next show, we will have none other but our very own John Eric Smith, who performs as Mr. Notch. And he is here, he will be here to perform his first gospel single release right here on A Good Show. Join us for the next show. So, yes, I'm all excited. But let me go back to our last show, in which I said I was going to begin more about the cruise pier issue, and I said I was going to break down my topic and I was going to go through it. But as everybody know, March and April have been incredibly busy months, and I was not able to break it down into topics. So what I have decided to do is I've just decided to share some other views on this and encourage you on and research for your own self, because CPR's relentless efforts to convince Caymanians that something that is good is actually bad for them is quite concerning for me. And I have to apologize personally, because when this whole CPR campaign began, I was one of those who helped to promote it. What happened for me was I signed a petition to get the referendum, and then I started attending the CPR meetings. But then when we got the right to the referendum, I started to get a little bit concerned in the fact that we were fighting against the referendum, and I didn't understand why we were actually fighting against the referendum. But anyway, COVID-19 struck, the whole project shut down, nothing really happened and everything. And then the issue became live again, and I decided I was going to an association for cruise tourism meeting, and actually Mr. Billy Adam was sitting next to me, and I asked the question. I said to Mr. Timmy and Mr. Joseph Woods, who were there as the panel, I said, the question I'm about to ask may be a question that should be answered by an expert, but I'll ask the question nonetheless, just in case you can answer it for me. My question was about use of the thrusters, turbidity and sedimentation from dredging, and the control mechanisms for those things. And Mr. Timmy said, well, I can't answer all of that for you, but what you can do is you can go in, you can have a look at Appendix E or G, one of two. I don't remember exactly which one it was now, but he referred me where I needed to go. You can go back and watch the footage of that show yourself, and you'll hear which appendix he sent me to. But it was the meeting at the Constitution Hall, just over here in Georgetown. And what happened was, he directed me to where I could find information, and there was a lot of information that was there. Information that had not been shared with me before that. It was not shared by CPR, and it was not shared from their platform. And some of the things that I had learned at CPR was there was this fear that a report was going to be built by China Harbor, and because it was going to cost us so much, we were not going to be able to repay it. And then, our children or grandchildren were going to be saddled with all of this debt. And when we couldn't pay it anymore, the Chinese were going to seize our report. And that was after we had destroyed all of the coral out in the Georgetown Harbor. That's pretty much the whole entire ball, the whole entire spiel that was handed out at that time. Well, during my research, then I came upon the Support Our Tourism Catalogue. And in there was the proposal which was called the Verdant Isle Agreement. And it set out quite clearly how the project was meant to work. And this was information that I am sure CPR had their hands on, because it was in the public realm, and CPR also, as the persons who were fighting for a referendum, had a responsibility to be sure that we had as much information as possible for us to make an informed decision. Because it was CPR who was championing the right to a referendum. And so with that comes certain obligations. It's not to present just your side of the story. It is to provide the information that is available, and as far as possible to give a breakdown on the topic, on the issues. and then let people decide for themselves. But instead, what I found out was that the Verdant Isle was a private-public partnership wherein the government, it was agreed, the Cayman Islands government was always going to own the port. China Harbour was not going to build it. It was going to be built by McAlpine, or their own Cayman company, McAlpine. And therefore, there was no risk of the Chinese harbour, Chinese engineers, whatever you want to call them, seizing a port for non-payment, because the port was going to be funded by the FCCA, who was going to put in their money in it. They were going to increase the passenger head tax to recover back the money that had been invested in the project. They were going to be out of pocket for years, but a part of their income was also going to come from the tender system, because there was not going to be as many tenders operating. Not it was going to be ended, but there were going to be a reduction in the number of tenders that were used, and the income, the passenger head tax that is paid to the tenders, to the tender owners, sorry, would in turn go to the cruise line to recover back the money that they had invested in building a cruise berth facility for the Cayman Islands, which also included an enhanced cargo port facility. Now, I never recall hearing anything about that in the plans when I was listening to CPR. What happened after I started looking at this information was that I started to learn a lot of stuff that caused me to change my position on the cruise berth facility. And now I am just horribly disappointed with myself for the role that I have played in convincing other people that we should vote no for the cruise berth facility, because I come to realize that no is not the right answer. In this instance, yes is the right answer. Listen, I'm not the only one that knows this. Let me read for you what Mr. John McKenzie had to say to CPR, which was posted on Facebook on CaymanNewsServices.com webpage in response to the article CPR CIG Cash Crisis Makes Cruise Pairs Even Less Viable. And it's Cayman Islands Headline News. Mr. McKenzie is responding to Ms. Kattina Hearn, HURN. He says, Kattina, I apologize for having to correct you and the CPR people, because you are publishing totally false and deceptive information without any facts or references to back up your statements. A no vote is the least environmentally sound choice of all, because no means nothing changes, and a no clearly shows you and the CPR supporters are totally ignorant of the environmental facts involved with this issue, because a no means no change, and ships will remain running all their engines on DP, dynamic positioning systems, maintaining the vessel on station in the harbour, burning massive amounts of fossil fuels and continuous emissions of exhaust from those engines. At the same time, cargo shipping drift offshore, waiting for cargo berth, burning fossil fuels and emitting exhaust emissions ready to berth in the evening. The CPR and others are stating that there are no facts, when the truth is that all information, all the reports, all the analysis, surveys and studies, and the 2,400-page report have all been published on the Cayman Islands government website, available for everyone's since 2016 to 2019. I ask how many of you have downloaded the 2,400-page EIA and read the entire document. In addition to the EIA, which itself costs $2.7 million, there are enormous amounts of other information, financial analysis, scientific reports, studies, and surveys available for you to read. All the information is already there and available to the public. That is Mr. John McKenzie's comment on CaymanNewsService.com in response to CPR's proclamation that the Cayman Islands cash crisis makes cruise pairs even less viable. So what he's saying and what I am saying is stop listening to CPR. Go read some of this stuff for yourself, and stop letting CPR drag you around like a bull with a ring through its nose. Listen, The question that we were being asked on the 30th of April isn't whether a cruise ship a cruise pier should be built east to west or north to south or anything of the sort. What that question is asking is this: should we, the Cayman Islands, have cruise berthing infrastructure? Do you believe, do I believe, do we, the voting public, believe that we as the Cayman Islands should have something that represents our top 10 financial status? Do we, the Cayman Islands, believe that as one of the top 10 tourist destinations, our cruise berthing facilities, our cruise port, should be at the least competitive to the rest of the Caribbean islands? Do you think that the Cayman Islands is worthy enough of having cruise berthing infrastructure? And my answer to that is yes. Not only should we have enhanced cruise infrastructure, we should also have enhanced cargo infrastructure and air infrastructure. We should have a jetway for our airport and sheltered corridors for us to walk to our cars, by the way, because I don't know if anybody noticed, but after you walk out the airport, if there's a deluge or the sun beating down hot on top of you, you gotta walk every step of the way out in the broiling sun or the downpour rain to get to your car. Heaven forbid, because you can't leave your luggage laying around. So what you can do then, you gotta walk through the rain, dragging your luggage, going to your car, across the street, 2 lanes, 3 lanes, 4 lanes, 2 parking lots to get to your car in long-term parking. We can do better for all of our ports. One of the things that, the environmental issue is one of the things that CPR has used. All right? Save Eden commercial going around and stuff on TikTok and stuff like that. Listen, the ocean has for eons cleaned those pieces of reef. All right? Whenever there's a hurricane, whenever there's a northwest, then you see that water turning black and mucky as the Thames River. The ocean still turns around and cleans it all back off. Every moment of the day. The ocean is cleaning that reef. And it's not going to stop cleaning Devil's Grotto and Eden's Rock because you build a pier out on pylons out in Georgetown Harbour, where there is some proposal that there's this awesome amount of, pristine coral in front of Georgetown Harbour where they want to put these piers where they propose as one of the proposed places for building the piers. Go out and look for yourself. Come back and tell me what you see. All right? Go read these reports for yourself. The other one is that we're going to lose 7 Mile Beach. People take a good look because 7 Mile Beach, which was actually 5.5 miles long, 7 miles of road, 5.5 miles of beach. There's no pier out there and the beach already gone. So you're not a pier that can cause it to be destroyed. It is seawalls that's causing it to be destroyed, swimming pools and stuff like that, all right? In addition to that, it is possible that this is also a cyclic shift of sand as well, okay? The first time we've seen it, but what we do know is this. There are no piers out there, no beach done gone. But hold on 1 second now. You know what we're calling for? We're calling for increase in tourism, which means that we who are so environmentally sound are saying, we want to save a piece of coral in Georgetown Harbour, but we don't care if you destroy the rest of the beach. And flora, the herb trees that we have, the iguana nesting holes, we can hardly find a white crab anywhere anymore. And as a matter of fact, we don't even care if you destroy the trees that the birds are nesting in. Put down another hotel, create more traffic on the roads through having to accommodate more tourists on the island, residing on the island. So you put more rental cars on the road to accommodate their needs, increase our garbage output in our sewage system. this making sense to you? Because they're really not making sense to me. I heard the former St. Lucian Premier, Mr. Chastanet, say something the other day that makes a lot of sense. I watched him on the Cayman Compass interview. You know what he said? Cruise tourism is a great way to build tourism because why? Because on that cruise ship, they have their own storage system and they have their own hotel rooms, but they come here for a day, they spend their money and they leave. And then we repeat that again tomorrow, but we don't have to provide a hotel for them to stay and for them to come here and spend their money. And another hotel simply means this, my friends. You'll have less access to the local beach. You don't think we got enough of a problem with that now? I see NRA doing something that I got to look into. Putting down these signs that says no parking anytime, and I believe that they're putting that down on what is actually public property on the roadway, in the way. If you have to pull over because you have an emergency, you're likely to crash into a steel sign. But it also bars our access to the public beach. And we have, they put in these signs, don't park here anytime, where it is that we access, the public beach access is on 7 Mile Beach. In Deltman, just go right there by Governor's House and look from Governor's House Beach, Governor's Beach, to Pinnacle and tell me what you see running straight down. And you got time to be fighting to get about a piece of coral in Georgia. You need to go fight for your beach access. And remember that every hotel I get put down, you have less opportunity of getting public beach access and use of a public beach. Tell me that don't make sense now. Go ahead. Go on. Remember that I started as a CPR advocate. Remember that at the beginning of the show, I apologize for my wrongdoing. Okay? Let me tell you one last point about this. The real reason behind this whole entire fiasco. It's not about a piece of reef out there. It is about preserving the $9 million that is made from the tender operations each year. There are 48 cruise ship tender operators. The majority of them are making $10 to $12 an hour. We are being asked to sacrifice the well-being and the income of thousands of Caymanians for the sake of 2 Caymanian families being able to retain $9 million per year to their benefit. And 48 employees, some of whom will still be employed by the tender system because you can't shut the tenders down altogether because you're still going to need some of the tenders in either which way you look at it. But 48 tender operators who the water sports industry done said that if cruise tenders shut down, they want first pick at hiring these people because they know that they're able-bodied seamen. If you're worrying about 48 cruise ship tender operators when thousands of us is at risk, come on, Cayman, we can do better than this. Listen, we are our brother's keeper. And in order for us to take care of one another, we can't afford to do it out of our pockets. We have to utilize the cruise ship industry to the best that we can. We do not own these cruise ships. The cruise ships are owned by the FCCA. The FCCA decides when and where each cruise ship will call. Until we can buy and put cruise ships out there to cruise around the Caribbean and be profitable for us as the Cayman Islands, we have to admit something. We don't own the cruise ships and we can't keep running around saying, oh, don't worry because they can always call to the Cayman Islands. Cayman Islands is only one of the Caribbean islands. There are many other options out there. Stop fooling ourselves. And why do I personally support the cruise berthing infrastructure system proposal? Because I am a proud Caymanian. Because the Cayman Islands is one of the top 10 financial centers in the world. One of the top 10 cruise and tourism, stayover tourism destinations in the world. And we should have one of the top 10 cruise berthing facilities in the world. We should have one of the top 10 cargo ports in the world, and we should have one of the top 10 airports in the world. For no other reason than this, we are the Cayman Islands. I am a proud Caymanian, and I can tell you something. When I see the video footage of other Caribbean nations who do not have the GDP, does not have the financial ranking, does not have the tourism rankings, ratings as what the Cayman Islands have, and see what they have to offer their tourists, I am horribly embarrassed. I am a proud Caymanian, and I want the Cayman Islands to have the best. And for that reason, I support the pier. On 30th of April, please vote yes for the cruise berth infrastructure referendum question. Speaking of April the 30th, I told you before that we were going to provide you with a list of candidates to vote for, our recommended list of candidates to vote for. However, as you all are aware, the information was not coming in fast enough because there's so much information around, but still it's not being generated fast enough for us to be able to properly assess and interview in our own way our candidates for the 19 constituencies. And so for that, we do apologize. However, I can assure you we will have that information out for you prior to 29th of April so that you know who to vote for on the 30th of April. So please stay tuned to A Good Show because we're going to dedicate the next segment to Jean-Eric Smith and his debut of his first gospel single, but also to discussing the political candidates and who and why you should vote for them. I can eliminate one whole entire team right now and tell you exactly who you should not vote for. You should not vote for TCCP, and I will give you those reasons on the next episode of A Good Show. Thank you so very much for joining me for this episode of A Good Show. I am Kattina Anglin. It has been a pleasure being here with you. You can find me here next week, Tuesday. You can find me here on Sunday nights as well at 7 p.m. here on Channel 33 on Logic. If you would like to be a sponsor of A Good Show or of the March for Jesus, please contact us at info@christian.ky. God bless you.